Senator from Virginia.
Could I ask that Amendment 1846 be pulled up, please?
It is already called up.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's impossible to fix all the problems with this bill in a one-minute amendment, but my amendment fixes two problems. It makes the middle-class tax cuts permanent, and it takes nearly $1 trillion away from the massive deficit caused by this big giveaway. How does the amendment do these two things? First, it leaves the AMT where it is under current law instead of scaling it back. Second, while making middle-income tax cuts permanent, it provides no individual tax relief to those Americans currently in the top bracket. And third, it cuts the corporate tax rate from 35 to 25 rather than 20. If you care about deficit reduction, support this amendment. If you care about permanent middle-class tax cuts, support this amendment. If you believe that a reasonable corporate tax cut could help grow the economy, support the amendment. And finally, if you believe that tax reform should be bipartisan, support this amendment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Senator from Pennsylvania.
Mr. President, taking the time in opposition, first I want to acknowledge that we share the goal of making the individual tax rates permanent, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to do that. But more importantly, I want to thank the senator from Virginia for acknowledging and complimenting our work, acknowledging that we have cut taxes for working class and middle income families. There were people who came down here during the course of the last several days suggesting that that somehow wasn't true. But I appreciate your honesty and acknowledging that we did in fact cut taxes for middle income families, for working class families, so much so in fact that you want to make our policy permanent. And I commend you for that. Unfortunately, you also added a huge tax increase on the very businesses that are going to help drive our growth. By lowering our rate to 20%, which is what we do in our bill and which you would undermine, we would lose the opportunity to create the new business, the existing business growth, and the wage and job growth that we want to drive. So I would suggest we work together on making our individual tax cuts permanent in the future, but I would urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment in its current form.
Their vote. On this vote, the yeas are 34, the nays are 65. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn not having voted in the affirmative. The motion is not agreed to. Point of order is sustained. The amendment falls.
First, it would call for the reduction on individual tax rates for middle class and working people to be made permanent.
Senator from Texas.
Mr. President, what our friend from West Virginia is proposing is to make the United States uncompetitive in a global economy. Right now we have the highest tax rate in the industrialized world, and what we are doing is lowering that tax rate to make us competitive. In so doing, taking the advice of Barack Obama in his 2011 State of the Union message, advice from the Democratic leader, Senator Schumer, Senator Wyden, the ranking member of the Finance Committee, who's recommended a lower rate than that contained in this motion to recommit. So we think we should take the advice of President Obama, President Clinton, Senator Wyden, Minority Leader Schumer, and other prominent Democrats, the advice that they've given us over the last few years to lower these corporate rates to make us more competitive so that we can bring jobs back home, improve wages, and get the economy growing again so people can pursue their American dream. So I would encourage our colleagues to defeat this motion to commit.
Mr. President.
All senators voted. Any senator wish to change their vote? On this motion, the yeas are 38, nays are 61. Motion is not agreed to.